We are joined every week at this time by the former head football coach at Ohio State, now an analyst on Fox and BTN, Urban Meyer, joining us from Columbus. Coach, we saw Minnesota on the way back into this segment pulling off yet another dramatic fourth quarter win. That's 3 of them this year for the Gophers. Why do you think that team in particular has been able to do this, and what are the characteristics that you've seen historically of teams that just kind of find a way?
Well, we've had some of those teams, and it's kind of twofold. You know, Minnesota, if they start doing that, you know, against the upper-level Big Ten teams, then that, you know, those are more significant. But there's a lot of times you just have that it factor on a team. You know, when J.T. Barrett was our quarterback, he had that it factor. You know, he was the guy that against Penn State a couple of times, and he would just bring us back. And obviously I had a Tebow. So there's that team's got a little bit of the it factor. They're never going to stop swinging, not stop playing, and that's a credit to the coach. But it's really a credit. They have something on that team. Obviously, I don't know them well enough yet, but that's really impressive. That, I mean, there's times it looks like it's over, and they come back and win.
Coach, I can remember back in my playing days, although it was a long, long time ago in college.
I barely remember.
Yeah, exactly. We played in some of those games, and from a player's perspective, you know, we were just happy to get out of there with the win. We understood that we made some mistakes, but we got away with the win. Is that the wrong attitude for players to have?
Well, Howard, they wore helmets when you played, right?
They did. They were leather, but they wore them.
I just want to know how long ago. You know, it's a relief to win, and I would get very upset and upset at myself at times too when you realize that there's a group on that other side is playing as hard as they possibly can win too. And so you're right. Get the heck out of there with a win. We started something at every place I've been called Victory Meal, and that was always about a celebration of the win, regardless how you played, regardless if you know, maybe you didn't play as well as you should and you played a lesser opponent and you didn't play very well.
What about the flip side of that, Coach? Narrow losses. I mean, Michigan State, it seemed like, had just such a great chance to escape against Arizona State, to get Mark D'Antonio kind of that milestone win, passing Duffy Daugherty. Didn't come to pass, lost in kind of gut-wrenching fashion. What's his message, and what's kind of the MO for a coach coming off a loss like that?
I watched that one really close. I just have so much respect for Mark and that staff, and I just think Michigan State, you know, what they've done over the last, you know, just the 7 years I was in the league, they're tough people. They work really hard. They develop maybe some underrated players, and they turn out to be great players. So just A to Z, I've always respected Michigan State and what that program stands for. And it's almost like I bled with them when I saw that scenario, the 42-yard field goal, 11 seconds left. That's right at that juncture where do you take another shot? Because if you do and you get a penalty or something, you're out of field goal range. And then, you know, it just happened so fast. The next thing you know, there's 12. When I saw that penalty flag, I wasn't quite sure what it was. And then when I saw the 12 men on the field, I mean, it was painful to watch. And Coach D'Antonio and that staff have been there before. The alarming thing is the offense. I mean, I'm not saying something that's not obvious, is the offense, and that's got to get fixed, man. That's got to get fixed now. They're playing great defense, playing with great energy, and it's like they just got to get that fixed. But as far as a staff and a head coach that knows how to rebound a team, he's as good as there is.
Yeah, Coach, I think that's the biggest part, him being able to rebound, because this is one of those games that's so gut-wrenching, it could lead to a second loss. So how do you build the team back up to be able to go out and play at a higher level and try to turn the page for what happened the week before?
Well, we had a couple tough losses over the years, and I would always try to find small victories for that team because the way, especially young people nowadays, everything's in sound bites. Everything's got to be a quick hit. And I would show, for example, you know, you lose a game and everything's ahead of you. The college football playoff's still ahead of you. The ultimate goal is get to Indianapolis, compete for a Big Ten championship. That's ahead of you. Your rival's still ahead of you. So those are things that I'd actually put it on a sheet of paper and show them so they can grab a hold of it and see that everything, all the summer training, all the conversation, it's still there. That one's over. You know, that was an Arizona State team, Pac-12 team. That's over. Get it out of our system. You know, build on the positives and move on fast. You know, there's times I wouldn't even show the videotape and say, get that thing out of our system and move on.
Coach, I want to talk to you a little bit about Ohio State. They've been playing so well. It's a program you know very well, and they're in a situation that you know well this week where they have the vastly superior talent to the team they're playing. And I thought it was interesting, Miami of Ohio's coach Chuck Martin said, quote, it's like going to recess and they have the first 85 picks. That's what he said at facing the Buckeyes. So when you're in a situation like that, where Ryan Day is this week, where you've been many times, where you know talent-wise you're much better than the team you're playing, what do you do to kind of get guys to remain focused on the task at hand?
Well, when I first started, I was on the other end of that. I was on a team that was 1-10, I believe, or I think they were 2-9, the Bowling Green, and we're going to Missouri, or you're going to play a Big 12 opponent, and I don't know if I agree with making a public statement like that, whether you believe it or not. You don't have to beat Ohio State. What you have to do is win a bunch of individual battles and hang in there in a game like that. On the other side, it is. We've been in some of those games, and Ryan's opportunity to work on just to look down the road a little bit at some videotape, make sure you have a good portion of your staff really focused on Miami, have some others maybe looking at Nebraska down the road a little bit and seeing what you have to do. But you have to win this game. You have to show respect for your opponent, and you got to get out of this thing healthy with a W. And Ryan knows how to do that. Those players are very mature guys. They're going to respect everybody they play and go play as hard as they can, and they should dominate that game.
Coach, I want to take you off the field really quickly. Since it's Wednesday, how about Real Life Wednesday? How much were you able to integrate that in during the season?
Not much. That was just hits here and there. We'll have 2 bye weeks, or they have 2 bye weeks this week. And when we had 1 or 2 bye weeks, we'd always have something. And I always had the pillars, whether it would be Title IX, whether it be opiate issues, whether it be mental health issues, concussion, all the things. Those are things that we really focused on. We would make sure, and I would have one of my player development people that's still there were constantly remind me to that's got to become part of the DNA. So you're always hitting it. But a lot of the career opportunity, all that's really on the shelf until the off season.
Coach, before we let you go, I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about what is the marquee game in the Big Ten this week, Michigan and Wisconsin. Yeah. What will you be watching most closely when those two get together in Madison?
I mean, this is as big as you get. Obviously, Madison, Wisconsin is a tough place to play. The tailback Taylor, my goodness, it's amazing to me that Barry Alvarez's system that he has brought, and it's just every year they find a great player, and this might be as good as all of them. And Reggie Bush spent time with him, said he's an even better guy, so you just kind of pull for him. But this is going to be all about, can Wisconsin beat man coverage? And can the quarterback cone, do they have enough skill? Because when Wisconsin's really, really good, there's a semblance of balance. I'm not saying it's completely balanced because that's not Wisconsin football. But you can stop the run, and the Wolverines will stop the run. Do they have enough firepower? And we're going to talk about that a little bit on the Big Noon Kickoff show, is do they have the capability of beating man coverage? If they do, I think they'll win. If they don't, I don't think they'll win. And, it's the Wolverine offense has got to get going. And that's an obvious as well. And this is a tough defense to go against. But they have a true freshman nose guard. They've had dealing with some injuries. So this is as big as it gets for this early in the season.
I cannot wait for this one on Saturday. Coach, great stuff. Really appreciate it. And we will check in with you again next week.
Good to see you.